investigating the issue.
Several of our special agents who were passing by apprehended him.
After an SUV slams into a federal building. Looking into pedestrian safety.
So a lot of people think that Miami is this really dangerous place in terms of traffic fatalities.
With the number of car crashes across Miami-Dade and a shooting injuring minors.
After midnight, on a weekend, unattended and unsupervised.
Now looking for response. These stories and more coming up on Newsbreak.
Hello, South Florida. I'm Laura Palfrey.
And I'm Julian Davis. Today's Tuesday, April 2nd, 2024.
Live from the Lee Kaplan School of Journalism and Media in North Miami, this is Kaplan News.
A case under investigation in South Florida this morning after a murder-suicide. A beloved life is taken away after a teacher near West Palm Beach was killed in a murder-suicide. As
WPTV's Stephanie Suskin reports, police have revealed that the culprit is the teacher's estranged husband.
I was a friend of hers, and see how I'm stumbling? It's devastating.
Daryl Fannell is in shock, trying to understand the tragic death of beloved math teacher Jamie Felix.
Very, very, very brilliant, great mother, teacher, woman in general. Her and my son played rec ball together. They got a few championships together.
Court records show Jamie had filed for divorce from Ray Felix, also an employee at the school, in October. Days later, he was arrested for domestic violence against his wife. He then resigned from his position at the school. Soon after, a permanent domestic violence injunction against him was issued. Port St. Lucie police say there is no record of him violating that injunction until Friday.
She was exiting the urban air park in the 9000 block of US 1 with her children, and she was accosted at that time by her ex-husband. And basically forced into a vehicle with the two children.
Police say the couple ended up in the parking lot of a West Palm Beach hotel. West Palm police released this surveillance video from the scene where, according to police, Jamie is seen getting out of the car and is followed by her killer. Investigators say Ray Felix shot and killed his wife in front of their two sons, then left the property and killed himself. Port St. Lucie Police Chief Richard Del Toro says an unusual email from Jamie to some of her co-workers during this time set off the investigation.
It's basically that she had lied about the domestic violence incident, which we know not to be true. It sounds to me like that email was placed under duress.
Jamie's students came together to build a memorial for her and hold a candlelight vigil over the weekend. The loss is weighing heavily on the community's hearts.
Her and her boys were inseparable. They was always together, and I just can't believe this happened.
That was Stephanie Suskin from WPTV reporting. St. Lucie Public Schools announced that grief counselors will be available as long as needed for students and staff coping with the loss.
One person is in custody this morning after an attempted breach at the FBI Atlanta office. The crime yesterday morning also resulted in a wrecked SUV. A suspect, whose name has not been released, was detained by agents after they say he rammed his SUV into the entrance of the office until it was stopped by a steel barrier.
Several of our special agents who were passing by apprehended him.
Agents don't know why he did it. They say the suspect tried tailgating an authorized vehicle into the compound. The steel barrier was then raised, forcing the suspect to stop and crushing the front of his SUV.
Shocking statistics revealed the true danger of driving in South Florida. Kaplan News reporter Hannah Kossoff takes a look at the risk impacting pedestrians.
Urbanists across the county are abuzz with the latest findings, indicating that Miami-Dade County saw 358 traffic fatalities involving cyclists, pedestrians, motorcyclists, and drivers.
While Toronto, with a slightly larger population to Miami, reported just 45 fatalities. Miami-Dade also reported nearly 30,000 injuries from crashes last year. That's almost 1% of the county's population affected by traffic accidents in just 1 year. Miami also faces more traffic injuries than violent crimes, with more traffic deaths than homicides. Data suggests a trend that cities heavily dependent on cars tend to experience higher traffic fatality rates. Civil engineer Dr. Frolick sheds light on this.
So a lot of people think that Miami is this really dangerous place in terms of traffic fatalities because of our terrible drivers. But the reality is, if you ask people around the country, they're going to say the same thing. Their city has the worst drivers of any place that I've ever been. The difference that causes there to be higher traffic fatalities in one location compared to the other is how the city is designed, what type of infrastructure is in place, how our streets are laid out, how wide are they, what is the focus when we're designing these streets. In South Florida and Florida, we tend to have wider streets with more lanes, more access and egress points, and more conflicts.
Prioritizing infrastructure improvements and regulation rather than assigning the blame on individuals is essential for improving safety. This is Hannah Kossoff with Kaplan News.
7 children and teens are dealing with injuries this morning following a shooting. It was early yesterday morning in downtown Indianapolis. The victims, aged 12 to 16, were hurt in the shooting that occurred just after midnight. Police are currently checking to see if the parents may be held accountable for their children being out at such a late hour.
What is a 12-year-old doing in downtown Indianapolis after midnight on a weekend, unattended and unsupervised? That is the question that we're trying to answer.
Police also believe that this was not a spur-of-the-moment event, rather the result of an ongoing conflict.
The Florida Supreme Court has approved a stricter abortion ban. The decision came down yesterday. The state already had a 15-week abortion ban, but this new law cuts the time frame down to 6 weeks. It goes into effect at the beginning of May. A proposed state constitutional amendment protecting the right to an abortion was also approved by the court. Floridians will have the chance to vote on the amendment this November.
In a troubling development for students across the country, federal financial aid faces yet another setback. This involves the federal paperwork known as FAFSA. The Department of Education said that some colleges have received incorrect family financial information, blaming inaccurate tax data from the IRS. This issue affects around 1 million applicants. With enrollment decisions looming and deposit deadlines approaching, several schools have extended deadlines.
Gray wolves are once again roaming the Rockies after the species was reintroduced to the wilderness. Thanks to the first ever voter-mandated reintroduction of endangered wolves in U.S. history, the canines are officially back in Colorado. Some 2 million gray wolves once roamed freely throughout North America, but when European settlers arrived, they brought their old world myths and hatred of wolves with them. By the 1940s, wolves were nearly wiped out.
Humans adapting with wolves is going to be the biggest obstacle that we're going to be dealing with.
According to Colorado Parks and Wildlife, the gray wolf is protected by the Federal Endangered Species Act as well as state law. Violators can be fined up to $100,000, serve jail time, and lose hunting privileges.
It's fair season in Miami-Dade. Kaplan's Brittany Rodriguez recaps the first week of its return.
The Miami-Dade Youth Fair returns to its sacred fairgrounds for the 72nd edition. In the heart of Westchester, locals come out in waves every year to see what the fair has to offer.
The Miami-Dade County Youth Fair has been coming to Dade County since 1952. With an expected attendance of over 500,000 fairgoers every year, the 86-acre fairgrounds pack many activities for its visitors.
What I like most about the fair is the food, the rides, the people coming with my family. Growing up, the youth fair was a staple part of my childhood. I love coming here with my kids and just having a good time.
Fairgoers can enjoy anything from pizza to customizable mini donuts to fresh cut and fried fries. They have activities for people of all ages, from a kiddie ride section to the barn where you can get up close and personal with livestock, along with a dedicated convention space for local vendors to come and sell their merchandise. With over 80 rides and 130 food concessions, the Miami Youth Fair has little something for everyone, whether you are a thrill seeker or just there for the fun foods.
I'm just here for corn and to ride rides.
Fun foods and crazy rides are what keep the locals coming back every year. You can catch the youth fair here at the fairgrounds until April 7th. With Kaplan News, I'm Brittany Rodriguez.
The Marlins hope to snap a 4-game losing streak as they welcome a new opponent to South Florida.
That's still ahead, and so is this story.
We definitely encourage everyone to come out and try it.
A soccer program that centers on inclusion. Newsbreak will be back in 2 minutes.
How prepared is your family if a tornado shows up at your doorstep or a flood? or hurricane. You can't just turn away a natural disaster. That's why it's important to go to ready.gov/plan now. It has the tools and tips you need to make an emergency plan with your family. So if disaster comes knocking, let's go. You'll be ready to help keep your family safe.
It's just a pizza.
Yes. Make a plan today.
FIU wasn't really my first choice, but, I grew up wanting to be a Hurricane, but that didn't work out, so I'm here now, I guess.
Hey, man. Your shoes untied.
Thank you, bro.
Yeah, no problem.
Should have done that against Georgia Tech.
Jordan knows he shouldn't eat this entire bowl of nachos, but tonight he's earned that right because a few hours ago in the middle of happy hour, he recognized a sign, not from the gods or a bolt of lightning, but from a double heart, a kissy face, and a fourth ha in ha ha ha. That's when Jordan knew he was buzzed. So when it was time to go, he got a ride home instead of driving. Be a legend like Jordan. Recognize your buzzed warning signs and get a ride home. Buzz driving is drunk driving.
I help our fellows design their paths as creative entrepreneurs. My experiences serving startups, creative businesses, and cultural organizations, and my journey as a queer mixed immigrant with Haitian and Arabic roots, inform the co-creative environment we foster at Radcliffe. We leverage our collective diversity to encourage the building of lifelong personal learning networks and mindsets that stimulate continuous innovation.
A group of special athletes learning that nothing can stop them from getting on the pitch. Once thinking they'd never have the chance to play sports, a college senior gives hope to a special group in Michigan.
Kaplan News' Anthony Milian has more on a student who started a soccer clinic for amputees and others with limb differences.
Emily Eatsman sets up for drills at a soccer camp she founded. The clinic is for amputees and individuals with limb differences.
But what we're going to do is just dribble through the cones, and then you're going to pass. Right now at the University of Michigan, I'm working to start a Michigan amputee soccer team. For these camps, you don't have to be an amputee. Obviously, amputee soccer is really great for people with limb differences to have the opportunity to play. But at these camps, I hop in, the coaches hop in. We definitely encourage everyone to come out and try it.
The clinic is the first of its kind in Michigan and promotes overall healthiness and the need to stay fit and active. It also allows amputees to play sports and have fun while doing it.
We heard about it from the U of M. That's where he goes to see his prosthetic, and we want to check it out. It's amazing, but it's a lot of work. It's not easy. I'm trying to keep up. I can't.
As Emily said, the clinic is for everyone, including adults like Katie.
So it's a little different for me. I was born with my amputation, so this kind of stuff didn't exist when I was a kid. I didn't ever see another amputee till I was in my late 20s. So getting the opportunity to get out and see people like you and get active and do something fun is really exciting.
With Ann Arbor being a sports powerhouse, it's only fitting to see something like this that opens the door for amputees to enjoy the beautiful game and live limitlessly. With Kaplan News, I'm Anthony Milian.
The Miami Marlins still looking for a win this morning after losing to the Los Angeles Angels yesterday at home. It looks like the fish are drowning after the Marlins were unable to secure a win despite having a 4-0 lead in the first inning. The final score was Los Angeles 7, Marlins 4. The Marlins will play the Angels again for their second game of the series today at 6:40 p.m.
Moving over to the ice, the Florida Panthers didn't have much luck either going against the Toronto Maple Leafs, losing by almost the same score as the Marlins. The Panthers were down 2-0 in the first period, but could not seem to stop the Leafs' offense until the third inning. It was not enough to take the lead. The loss hurts that much more considering the Cats could have taken the first seed in the Atlantic with a win. The final score was Panthers 4, Toronto 7. The Panthers travel to Montreal to play the Canadiens today at 7 p.m.
That's all the time we have for Newsbreak. I'm Laura Palfrey.
And I'm Julian Davis. Get more news anytime at kaplannews.fiu.edu.